What up, nerds? Topic of conversation, the ZPacks DUPLEXL and the DUPLEXL tents. What are they? How do they handle adverse weather conditions? Are they the right tent for your gear setup? That and more coming up on this offering of gear reviews with CADS. Now let me set the stage for a recent backpacking trip that I went on in which I unknowingly got to test out the ZPacks DUPLEXL ability to withstand a heavy storm. So I decided to go on a 3-day, 2-night coastal backpacking trip specifically for two reasons. One, I knew that if I would go during the start of a storm, nobody else would be out there. I'd have the whole place to myself. Two, the next day's forecast looked very favorable for having partly cloudy skies and an amazing sunset. Sometimes I will brave storms just to see if there's any kind of nice shot that I can get from there. And also it's just really nice to go out and not be around people at all, which is sweet. I went on this trip. I did get completely and totally soaked. I set up camp. Now, no, this is the only photo that I have of my tent not submerged in water. Okay, foreshadowing, right? Went on a walk that night. Oh, and it's easing down on the rain. Never mind. There was a calm before the storm, and I took this video clip, and right there's this gigantic wall of water, which is just heading my direction. It was not supposed to head my direction. As I went to bed that night, I checked out my Garmin InReach Mini, looked at an updated forecast. Looks like the storm was going to pass, but at about 2 in the morning, I was awakened to the absolute loudest sound of rain I've ever heard on a tent. It is so loud, and was in 2 inches of standing water. There was no way that I could pack down my tent and navigate out of there during that storm, so I would just wait till morning, and at around 9 in the morning, I woke up to 5 inches of standing water completely surrounding my tent. In fact, it went underneath my tent. So my tent was effectively a waterbed, which was kind of weird and a little freaky, but I did learn quite a few things during that adventure. I stayed completely and totally dry. Everything. My camera gear, my clothes, my sleep system, everything. When I got out of my tent, I was standing in 5 inches of standing water, but everything in my tent stayed dry. To kind of put this into perspective, the day before I got this little shot of a creek that's right next to where my campsite was. The next day, that creek had surged so hard, or the day before I could, jump over the 2 feet across that it was. So that's the surge of water that I had. I decided to cut my trip short. I packed up everything. I headed out. I had to cross over a multitude of different water crossings that were not there the day before, the deepest one being about calf height. Made it out, made it back to my vehicle. Didn't take my camera out once. I got to really put some of my gear to the test, and I am exceedingly happy with the performance of the DUPLEXL. I remember dry clothes before I decided to be a dumbass. Now, ultralight gear is an important consideration when being a photographer because I carry a lot of extra weight in photography gear and I need to cut weight where I can, hence having a lot of experience with the ZPacks DUPLEXL and the DUPLEXL. The ZPacks DUPLEXL and the DUPLEXL are 2-person, single-wall tents that are made from a material called dyneema, or DCF. If you're not familiar with dyneema, you can basically kind of think of it like an ultralight tarp-like material, completely and totally waterproof and does not sink like sil nylon does. The ZPacks DUPLEXL weighs in at about 18 ounces, and the DUPLEXL weighs in at about 20 ounces. The DUPLEXL has a 7.5-foot dyneema bathtub bottom with an 8-inch rise sewn all the way around. The DUPLEXL also has that same 8-inch rise sewn all the way around. It is 8 feet in length, and it also features 2 carbon fiber pole risers on either end of the tent. The DUPLEXL and the DUPLEXL are also unique in that instead of using tent poles, they actually use trekking poles. One considerable difference between the DUPLEXL and the DUPLEXL is the DUPLEXL has those 2 carbon fiber riser poles. So when you're packing this away, you can't get it really smaller or more compact than this. With the DUPLEXL itself, you can actually fold it smaller, and there are some folks that have really small ultralight backpacks. The DUPLEXL might not fit in there. That is a point and a consideration for you to be able to make for your own setup. For me, this works out perfectly well in my Hyperlight Southwest 3400. This is a fantastic piece of gear for my kit. I think that the ZPacks DUPLEXL is the perfect tent for folks that are looking to save as much weight as possible with having as much room as possible. That might have a smaller backpack that wouldn't fit those carbon fiber rods. An extra $50 will get you the DUPLEXL. That'll get you an extra foot in length in that bathtub bottom, and it will also get you those carbon fiber pole risers that for me really make sense. In the DUPLEXL, Even though I'm not that tall, like I'm 6 foot tall, and sometimes I would experience waking up and the top of my head would be touching that rise, or my feet are touching down at the bottom of the tent. Maybe the tent was a little bit of an arch and I just kind of slid a little bit, and now my feet are touching the bottom, and that becomes a condensation point because it is a single wall tent. So the carbon fiber risers, in my opinion, are a fantastic upgrade. I would recommend these to anyone, and if I had to go back and make a decision about another tent, I would probably still choose the Duplex and the DUPLEXL. This is just absolutely one of my favorite pieces of gear that I've ever owned. I am excited to take this out for more adventures. I just think that this is cheating. Anyway, thank you folks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, before I say butt rock, right? And then, there's my tent. Yeah.